Games Corner is a unique console-based gaming experience with 3D and LED screens, all within a comfortable atmosphere. Become a Games Corner franchisee now and bring this one-of-a-kind opportunity to your location. For more information, visit us at gamescorner.com.
Hi everyone, this is Ahmed Karimli and welcome to Be Efficient TV. The mission of this web TV show is to boost the efficiency of your business and life through tips and tricks from leading experts. And today I have with me Wade Foster. He is the co-founder of Zapier. It's a software that connects apps and automates tasks. Welcome to the show, Wade.
Hey, Ahmed. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you on the show. So what's your background before Zapier?
So before Zapier, I worked mostly in online marketing. I guess we're like marketing automation, email marketing, a lot of that sort of thing. And then previously I worked at a smaller startup where I did a lot of experimental stuff, just testing a bunch of different marketing channels and things like that. So that's definitely kind of my previous background.
You studied industrial engineering and then you did a master in business administration. So how did you start in the software and online world?
Sure. So when I came out of high school, I was good at math, I was good at sciences, and but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so everyone just says, "Oh, you should do engineering, right?" And I saw industrial engineering. It kind of got my inner efficiency nerd, productivity nerd excited, and so that's what I decided to go into. But then during I guess it was maybe my junior year, I had an internship with a big giant corporate company, and it was just not much fun at all, and so it really burnt me out on the concept of working in big companies and things like that. And so I decided, hey, I want to see what small business world looks like. I started hanging out online a lot more, kind of got into this whole internet thing, and realized that it was pretty exciting. And so that's when I started working for a small software company, mostly doing marketing. And while I was there, I realized I didn't want to just market these products. I wanted to try to build them myself. And so this is actually when I reached out to one of my co-founders, Brian Helmig, who I knew through music, and decided I was going to start teaching myself how to code. And so that's really kind of how maybe a bit of a late bloomer, but I decided, hey, I'm interested in this stuff. I want to teach myself how to do this and get good at it.
Working as a teaching assistant at the University of Missouri didn't work for you?
So that was just a way to get pay my way through school. They gave scholarships to teaching assistants and gave them a stipend and things like that. So it helped pay my way through school.
Why you called it Zapier?
Good question. So when we were looking at names, we knew we wanted a .com name. Zapier runs on APIs, so we thought, hey, if we can get a word that has API in the middle of, that would be pretty cool. And I realized, well, API, you can probably put an ER at the end of it, right? And now you have IER, which is a common English ending to words. And so we then ran a script to look at all the domains that were available that had APIER in them, and their Zapier was available. And so that's basically the story of it. So we bought Zapier.com for $9.99 and off to the races, I suppose.
You are 2 or 3 co-founders, and how did you find each other's, and how important to have a co-founder in a startup?
It's very important to have co-founders in hindsight. I met Brian through music. So Brian is a bass and guitar player, and I'm a saxophone player. And so we played jazz music at the University of Missouri in Columbia. And got to work with Brian both, as a musician, and then also we started doing freelance work together and kind of realized that we worked pretty well together. And then Brian knew Mike, actually met him through Hacker News, because there was someone who posted on Hacker News a show HN that mapped every Hacker News user on a map. And Mike and Brian just so happened to be the only users in Columbia, Missouri. And so Mike reached out to Brian and said, hey, you're on Hacker News. It's good to meet you. And Brian introduced the two of us, and we kind of hit it off as well. And so we have really good complementary skill set. Brian is an excellent back-end engineer. Mike is a good product and front-end developer. I'm good at marketing, customer service, sales, that sort of thing. And so when it came to starting Zapier, it worked out really nicely because the three of us could tackle each sort of part of the business and get things going just by ourselves. We didn't need a ton of outside help.
What are the challenges that you face at the beginning, and how to launch a startup efficiently?
Sure. I mean, at the beginning, everything is hard because you don't have anything at all, right? And so I think probably two things are probably the hardest. One is just getting anyone at all to care about what you're working on. Because when you start, at least like us, we didn't have an audience. We didn't have anyone that really knew about us outside of like friends and families. And so really finding people to even care about us is important. And two is having a thing that somebody wants. So you got to build something that people actually want. So you might figure out what they want and get people excited about that thing. But once you figure that out, you still don't have the thing that they actually want. You got to go build it too. And so that's a tough thing to do as well. And it worked out nicely because with Brian, Mike, and I, because I was able to figure out what the one is, and they were able to help build the thing that they wanted. And so it really helped kind of push us forward on both those fronts at like the same time.
So you struggle the most with finding the exact problem with the customers, or like to convert customers or to raise capital?
Definitely getting those first users is like really the hardest thing. And you have to be creative about how you do it. And so that's definitely the toughest part, I'd say.
What is Zapier for the people who don't know Zapier?
So Zapier is kind of like a clearinghouse for a bunch of integrations between tools you already use. So if you've used tools like Slack before, you've probably gone to like their integrations and seen like, oh, here's a cool Giphy integration, or here's like a email integration we can use, something like that. With Zapier, we integrate with over 500 apps. And so as a user, if somebody like Slack doesn't have a native integration for a tool that you want, you can use Zapier to hook those two tools together. So you can set up something that, say, for instance, automatically saves all your email attachments to Dropbox, or something that takes any mention of your brand on Twitter and posts it, sends you an email alert about it, or someone fills out a form on your website and it can automatically add them to MailChimp or to Salesforce. So you can set up these integrations, just kind of plug and play. You don't have to know how to code. You don't have to know what APIs are or anything like that.
What are the top 10 tools that you integrate, or most is it email marketing tools or other tools?
Probably the most popular tools tend to be things like Google Apps. So you think Gmail, Google Sheets, Google Calendar, that sort of thing. And also stuff like Evernote, Dropbox, stuff that is just things that everyone uses. Like these are really popular tools for everybody. Those tend to be the most popular. Though, email marketing tools, CRM tools, which are more business oriented, get a ton of usage as well.
But how do you protect the security? How do you make the apps talks to each other?
Sure. So I'm going to get a little technical here real quick, but the gist of it is we use authentication that's provided by APIs. So kind of like when you log into a site, you use a username and a password to log in. Well, you can also give permission to Zapier to access your accounts through an API. And what those APIs do is they give us basically a one-time password that you're able to revoke if you'd like, for us to use to access certain details of what is in your account. So if you trust Zapier, you can safely give us access to things like your Dropbox account, your Evernote account, your MailChimp account, and then we'll make requests of that service on your behalf using the one-time password you gave us access to through the API, and we'll safely transfer that data from one system to another for you.
So as Zapier, you have all these data for those different tools, and then you link it through the APIs with another tool.
There you go. Yep.
So it's not only the future to automate, let's say, to monetize through your service, but maybe you have the database as well.
Possibly. However, we don't. we're not really interested in selling data or anything like that. We think it's pretty important that folks maintain ownership of their data, and that's not something we're too keen on. We'd rather help you automate your business rather than do anything with your data.
How to post from Buffer or Facebook to Instagram? I struggle personally with that.
So one thing you could do through Buffer is set up like RSS feeds that automatically post through Zapier into your Buffer account. And so Buffer is always topped off with some of your favorite RSS feeds. And then Buffer, of course, can then share to Facebook for you, Twitter for you, Google+, Pinterest, you name it. And so you always have
but my question is to Instagram.
Oh, to Instagram. Well,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't let you post automatically to Instagram through their API. So you have to, if you want to post to Instagram, you got to do it manually yourself.
So they just allow you to post from Instagram to Facebook. Is it because Facebook owns Instagram and they want to control the list? Everything leads to Facebook, or?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Can you explain more to us about the APIs and how it connects and the security? And I will ask you a question from Alex K. Just now, before like couple of hours, he sent the questions to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I mean, the way the APIs work is they allow us to get access to certain things that you want us to move across for you, right? So, for instance, say you set up a Zap that automatically wants to move your attachments from Gmail into Dropbox. So basically, what Zapier does is we periodically check every 15 minutes your Gmail account. We take a look. Is there any new attachments in the account? If we see a new attachment, then we say, oh, great. And then we send it across to Dropbox for you.
So the two questions from Alex K are your integrations APIs based only, or do you use any other method?
Could you repeat that?
Is it you integrate only through APIs or through any other method?
So almost universally, we do our integrations through APIs. There are a few instances where we actually use RSS and email as alternative methods, but 99% of our integrations are based on APIs.
Second question, any plans on adding Wistia zaps based on view percentage and to be able to tag viewers into Ontraport according to how much they watched a video?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I'll have to take a look at the Wistia API and see if that's something that's possible. If it is, perhaps we can get it added.
For non-techie people, what does APIs means?
So APIs are called application programming interfaces, but the gist of it is they allow a machine to talk to another machine. So if you think of when you go to a website, let's use like a pizza ordering site, right? You go to papajohns.com and you click a few buttons to say, hey, I want to configure my pizza to be a large pizza, and I want to have sausage on it and pepperonis on it, and I want it delivered now, and I'm going to pay this much in a tip. So you've basically selected 4 things, but you've done it yourself. You've pressed the buttons. Well, an API would allow another computer to automatically do that. So they could talk to the Papa John system and say, hey, here's an order that I want to place. So instead of having a person press the buttons, a machine is doing it instead.
So when certain companies on a certain pages on their sites, they say we sell our APIs, does that means also selling, the technology of their software or no? Usually
they're selling access or usage to the API, right? So you can make so many requests on their API for X dollars a month, or every API request that you make costs a few pennies or $1 or something like that.
I'm gonna ask you about how to connect certain apps with each other's. I would like you to give me some examples, ideas to use Zapier with Asana as example.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So some popular things that you might do with Zapier and Asana might be, someone, I guess if you use Asana in maybe, let's see. Here's a good example. So say you take all your notes in Evernote and you want to create a task in Asana based on some notes you've jotted down in Evernote. So instead of going over to Asana to create a new task there, you can just jot your task down in Evernote, automatically post it to Asana, so now the rest of the team can see, the task in Asana. Or maybe you have like a Google Sheet somewhere or Google Form set up somewhere, and when people fill out the form, you need to add a task to Asana. So whenever they automatically fill out that form on a Google form, it generates that task in Asana.
But
So that might be a couple
Evernote, like for
examples.
each note, or you can just like, make it done for only one note on Asana.
So you could do it for a new note, or you could do it for notes in a specific notebook. So that could be a couple ways that you might make use of that.
How about ideas to use Zapier with Google Sheets?
Sure. So with Google Sheets, you can do all sorts of different things. Mostly around like archiving information tends to be pretty popular. So for instance, say you wanted to pull in tweets, right? Like any mention of my company on Twitter, let's log who said it, how many followers they have, and a link back to it so that you can track what people are saying about you over time. So that might be something you could do. You could also do like the example I gave with, someone fills out a Google Sheet, adds a new row to a Google Sheet. You can go ahead and create a task in Asana, or generate a calendar invite on Google Calendar, or trigger an email to go out via Gmail. Those are like a few ways that you could use, Google Sheets as like the start of an integration.
How about Zapier to MailChimp?
Whew. Let's see, Zapier with MailChimp. I think probably the best use cases there are around form software. So if you have like a form on your website, maybe you're using Wufoo, Typeform, Gravity Forms, Google Forms. When someone fills out your form, you can add that person as a subscriber to MailChimp. Another good example might be people subscribe to your MailChimp list, but you also want them to be in your CRM. So you could say, hey, new subscribers to this specific list in MailChimp, let's go ahead and add them as a subscriber to Salesforce or to Highrise or something like that.
Which email marketing tool or autoresponder you like the most?
Ooh, that's a good question. They all kind of have their pluses and minuses depending on what you look at. So I think it'd probably be dependent on the situation. We actually wrote a pretty good book about this, if your listeners are curious. To see what might be the best one for them. I'll toss the link here in Skype so that you can share it with folks here after the call.
I read about like also you integrate WordPress with Zapier, like how people use that, like when they publish a post, they link it with something else, or how?
Yeah, so with WordPress, definitely the most popular thing is to share their new posts in various places. So for example, when a post goes live on WordPress, let's go ahead and share it to Twitter, let's share it to maybe Facebook, let's share it to Buffer, LinkedIn, let's share it to Slack, that sort of thing. However, you can also do the opposite and create posts in WordPress based on different things. So for instance, maybe you write your post in Evernote, and then once you're ready for it to get published, you can move it over to a specific notebook in Evernote that's a published notebook, and that'll create a new post for you in WordPress. Or maybe you want to create a new post for your Instagram pictures. Well, you snap a picture and set up a Zap that will automatically create a photo post for you in WordPress for every new photo that you take in Instagram.
How easy to subscribe to your service, and what are the prices? Do you have a free and then you premium account? How it works?
Yeah, so Zapier is free for basic usage. So if you go to zapier.com, zapier.com, you can click the big sign up button right in the middle and give yourself an email address and username, and you'll be signed up, and you can start using it for free. There are paid plans that start at $20 a month and move up from there. But most people get along just fine on the free plans.
Zapier versus IFTTT.
Sure. So IFT is also a really cool software as well, and they focus a lot on kind of consumer use cases, Internet of Things. They work with a lot of devices and stuff like that. So if you want to connect like kind of some of your home automation tools up to different things, definitely check out IFT. If you got a lot of business use cases and things like that, Zapier is going to be a lot more successful for you.
So Zapier is better?
Definitely for business use cases.
what's the difference between business and individuals?
Sure. A lot of it is the tools that you use, right? So, for instance, you don't find very many consumers using Salesforce or GoToWebinar or GoToMeeting or any tools like that, or QuickBooks. And so Zapier has support for all those tools, though. So if you're a business, we're going to support the tools that you use. We're going to support Salesforce and QuickBooks and Xero and Infusionsoft and MailChimp and all these apps that are important to run your business.
So IFTTT does not support all the apps that you support.
Correct. They mostly have support for like home automation apps and things like that.
You are the tools connector guy. Which tools you use the most in your business and life?
I'd say probably the tools I use the most right now are Slack. I use Slack pretty much on a daily basis. Gmail a lot. I use a lot of Google Docs as well. I do Google Calendar a lot as well. So a lot of kind of the basic stuff that a lot of folks are probably already using. I like to keep it pretty simple.
I never used Slack, but I checked it. I didn't see that much difference between, let's say, Slack and WhatsApp, or Slack or an Asana. So how do you use it differently?
Sure. So Slack is really nice because we can get our entire team into the same chat room. So we invite everyone into Slack, and we can set up channels in Slack, which are basically different rooms for different projects. So for instance, we'll have a channel for marketing to have discussions, a channel for support to have discussions, a channel for engineers to have discussions. But they're all open and public, and you can join them or not if you depending on your interest level. So it keeps everyone on the same page about what's going on in the company at the same time.
What's the difference between that and WhatsApp group? Just because you can type, use it on Mac, and WhatsApp is not yet available on Mac?
Yeah, so that would be my guess. I haven't used WhatsApp a ton, so I'm not entirely sure what the differences are. But I'd say mostly, yeah, that you're able to invite all your team into it. It's got a lot of integrations that are nice for your team to use. It's kind of got, I guess like the enterprise grade thing, where WhatsApp is definitely more of a consumer grade tool. And mobile based.
How did you convert your first customer, and how you used to market for the product, and now what did you change in your marketing strategy?
Sure. The very first customer we found was Andrew Warner of Mixergy. And I actually stumbled across a thread where he posted online that he was looking for a Wufoo to Aweber integration. And so I reached out to him and asked him, are you still looking for this thing? And he said, yes, I still haven't found this. And I mentioned that I actually had something that could help him out, and he was like, oh, this is awesome, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and he pretty much he converted right on the spot there. So that was great. And then we ended up finding more folks over time early on through like forums. So for example, MailChimp has a forum, or Wufoo has a forum, Dropbox, Evernote, they have forums. A lot of times people will ask for integrations that aren't natively supported there. And so I would go there and mention that I would be working on a project, and if anyone's interested in checking out my project, it'll help them solve their integration problem between Evernote and the tool that they were looking for. And we would get like a handful of folks that would come to us each day, not a ton, but 2 or 3, and it added up to be pretty meaningful. Now, over time, that's not something that scales and you can do a lot of, and so we transitioned to a little bit more scalable marketing strategies. A lot of co-marketing with our partners, a lot of content marketing, a lot of search engine optimization and things like that to help drive, scalable amounts of traffic rather than, forum posts.
What are the future projects that you're currently working on in terms of business and life, or just in terms of business, you're focused just on Zapier?
My 100% focus is on Zapier right now.
Okay, live projects?
Live projects is Zapier.com.
How did you, I heard that you moved from different state to California when you started the company. Tell us more about that. What were struggles, the family, shifting for the uncertain, future for the company and the wife? Yeah,
for sure. So, early on in the company's life cycle, we were about 9 months in, and we got accepted into the Y Combinator, which is an accelerator that's funded companies like Airbnb, Reddit, Dropbox, Stripe, to name a few. So it's a pretty prestigious institution. And so when we got excited or accepted, we were really excited to go. However, I was married. All my family, my possessions, everything I knew was in Missouri, which is about 2,000 miles away from California. And so I had to convince my wife that this was the way to go. And it's also a lot more expensive to live in California than it is in Missouri. And so she was definitely skeptical at first. It took a lot of convincing. And I don't think she was happy about the move. But she reluctantly gave in and was like, all right, I'll do this for you, Wade. So we moved out here. And fortunately, she ended up loving it out here. I think she likes it even more than I do. But it was definitely tough to make that leap of faith and see if this would work out. But in the end, it certainly has for us.
Question regarding the taxes and expenses. Definitely California has more taxes. Why most of the online companies still stay there, even when, is it because of the teams or the environment or Silicon Valley, and that makes them just stick there to pay more?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that one, there's just a lot of there's a huge density of really smart people in a really small area, and doing a lot of different things. So you have people who are actively working on companies and are actively working on tech. You have a lot of investors there, so there's a lot of money in the area as well that makes it easy. And those investors don't typically like to travel a lot, and so being in the Bay Area is pretty helpful if you want to do partnerships with other companies that are already there, recruit talent, and things like that.
What's your daily life and work routine?
So my routine has definitely changed a lot as the team has grown. Nowadays, I'll be up around 7 o'clock and just jump right into the day. Usually, I'll check out Slack to see what's happened kind of overnight with the team, check email real quick to see what's happened. And then I try and have like 2 or 3 things that I really want to get done for the team that day. And then the rest of the day I spend mostly just chatting with different folks on the team, see how things are going, see if there's anything I can help them out with. And so it's mostly just being a coach and a supporter of the rest of the team.
Any hobbies?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest hobby I have right now is I'm playing a lot of racquetball. And I have a dog, and so I like to teach him tricks and go on walks and things like that with them.
You should switch to squash. I'm a squash player.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's a lot more racquetball players out here than there are squash players.
True.
There are a few squash players, though. And I have to get some...
It's expanding more in the U.S. now, the squash.
Yeah,
sport.
it definitely is. So hopefully it'll take off, and I'll be able to jump in some games and see how it goes.
Top 3 mentors.
I would say first my grandfather. So my grandfather's always been helpful for advice on really anything in life. So he's definitely number one. Paul Graham has been really good he created YC. His essays are phenomenal, and when we got to go through YC, that was really, really helpful. And then early on, Kevin Hale, who was the founder of Wufoo, was super helpful for us in terms of helping us kind of make the first steps from being a 3-person team to growing, adding the first few people onto the team. So those are, I guess, the 3 people that have been helpful, pretty helpful along the way for Zapier.
If you're just starting today the entire journey, what would you change?
It's tough to say that I would change anything because it's all worked out really nicely, and even our failures have been good lessons to learn. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It might be a cop-out answer, but I don't know that I would change anything about how we've gone. I think the way we've ended up is pretty good, and I think changing something might have actually been to our disadvantage.
What's the one marketing strategy that helped you the most?
I think giving really, really, really good customer support is probably the easiest way to get good marketing, and it's something that most people don't do. If you give someone really great customer support, the more likely they are to talk about you, to recommend your company, to share your company, and so it's a really small thing that you can do that's gonna really increase the word of mouth of your company.
Like the most important factors for success in 3 words.
Show up every day.
What's the biggest failure moment in your life, and what did you learn from it?
So when I was in school, I was a pretty good student, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And I had a professor that really encouraged me to go for to work on a specific project, to shoot for a master's in engineering. I wasn't really excited about it, but I kind of got flattered by him. He kind of buttered me up a little bit, and I was like, this is cool that someone is showing a lot of interest in me and, thinks I could be successful at this. However, in hindsight, I realized 2 months in, 3 months in, that it really wasn't what I wanted to be doing, and basically quit on him. And so that was a tough lesson to learn. So just because someone is, really, I guess, excited about you doing something, doesn't mean you yourself should do something. You have to be excited about something yourself, and you have to, carve your own path, make your own journey in life, and you're going to be a lot happier if you go that route.
What do you do when you're depressed to change your mood?
I hang out with my dog.
Top 3 favorite books.
Oh, good question. Let's see. Well, I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, huge fan of like the Harry Potter series. So I read those all when I was a kid, and I come back to them all the time. I guess if we're talking business books, though, I recently read Hard Thing About Hard Things from Ben Horowitz, and that was super helpful as well.
Very interesting, yeah. Top 3 apps that you use on your phone.
Let's see. Slack, Gmail, and Twitter.
What are the habits that you're trying to develop to stay efficient?
I think the biggest thing I'm trying to do right now I guess in 2015 is get better at exercising on a consistent basis. And so that's when I started playing racquetball a lot. I've go out to the gym 3 times a week to make sure that I'm doing that on a consistent basis, because after 3 years of basically not eating great, not working out, and running a startup, I was like, this is going to catch up to me sooner or later. So I got to take care of myself too if I want to go the distance with Zapier.
Best advice that you have ever received?
Show up every day. So yeah, if you do a little work each day to make yourself that day better than the day it was before, I guess that the day before that, and you do that enough times, you're gonna end up in a pretty good spot.
What would you advise your younger self if you have the chance to do so?
Take more risks. So I would say, don't be scared of maybe like what other people might think about you or anything like that. Instead, if you're interested in something, dive in and go for it.
You're a musician. Do you listen to any music when you work?
Oh, that's a good one. Sometimes it's tough for me to listen to music when I work, though, because I get distracted by the music and I want to pay more attention to that than work. So unless I'm doing some kind of like more routine type of stuff, then I try to steer clear of it while I'm working.
Top 3 people that you're inspired by.
Well, Elon Musk, I think, is certainly one. It's pretty crazy how he'll just like go for anything. So I'm definitely impressed by him. I look up to Kevin Hale a lot at Wufoo. I think he kind of takes a counterculture example for how to build and grow companies, which is pretty impressive. And then also, my grandfather as well. I think kind of just the success he had in life is just, and he's been like a constant mentor there for me for my whole life, which is pretty important.
Do you follow any routine to sleep, or you just switch off?
So I try and get to bed probably by 10, 30, 11 every single night and get 8 hours of sleep, and that usually does the trick for me.
What makes you really happy?
I think Probably just being with my friends, with my family, hanging out with my wife, with my dog, and getting to do the things that we enjoy doing.
Is there any question that I didn't ask you and you wanted, or a subject that you wanted to speak about, or promote something about your product?
I don't think so. This is a good hot seat interview questions there at the end. I liked it.
Last question: how people can contact you?
So the easiest way to contact me is probably on Twitter. So I'm at Wade Foster on Twitter. Pretty active there, and so if you shoot me a note, I'll be sure to get back to you.
Thank you so much, Wade, for this interview.
Yeah, thanks, Ahmed.
Thanks, everyone. Be efficient and stay efficient, and see you soon with another leading expert.